All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome into this episode of the Chiefs on Podcast. Farzin Vasugian here with you on a Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend. We are back here live on a Monday night. Doing this a little early before Monday Night Football between the Steelers and the Texans, the final game of Wild Card Weekend. And boy, it was quite a wild weekend for football. 4 of the 5 games were great. All of them were really close, and just about all of them came down to the wire. Even the least exciting one, the least competitive one, still fairly low scoring. You weren't really sure who 100% was going to win until the very end. So all 5 games were a lot of fun to watch. And you want to know the best part about it? I went 5 for 5 with my picks, hoping to go 6 for 6 tonight. So we'll see how that goes. Some of you guys had some doubts about my picks last week. So let's see how that's all going to go tonight as the Steelers get ready to play host to the Houston Texans. We'll touch on the wild card games. I'll give you guys my thoughts on all of the 5 games that took place over the weekend. Obviously, some big ones, some notable ones with what happened with the Chicago Bears. The Panthers almost pulled off a really big upset. The 49ers with a big win over the reigning champs, but suffered a big loss in that one to one of their key players. So we'll touch on all of that and much more here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. Also going to touch on the Chiefs coaching staff. Not a whole lot happening on that front, which still leads me to ask some questions, and I'll get to that one shortly. Rashee Rice's little situation has a little bit of an update, and it's one that's continuing to draw more questions. We'll get into that. Also, I want to dive into the Jacksonville Free Press Associate Editor, Lynn Jones Turnpin. She is the lady who had some kind and encouraging words for Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen after their loss to the Bills. It is receiving tons of reactions. She has spoke out and fired back at her biggest critic from over the weekend. That is what we have to look ahead here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. I appreciate all of you joining us here tonight. Facebook.com/Farzin Vasugian, at the Chiefs Zone on YouTube, at Farzin Vasugian on Instagram, and at Farzin21 on X. We're also at Farzin Vasugian on TikTok. So I appreciate everyone who is joining us live on all of those live platforms. If you guys want to be part of the conversation, join us. Watch live with us on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, and TikTok. And if you're listening to the audio version, hey, certainly understandable if you're not able to catch us live. But if you ever want to get a chance to follow and listen along live, certainly can do so on all of those platforms I mentioned. Let a friend know about the podcast. In fact, if you guys haven't done so already, I have the link in the comments. Please subscribe to the Chiefs Zone on YouTube. And if you've already done so, let a friend know, let 2 people know about the YouTube channel, youtube.com/at the Chiefs Zone. This podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That is where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs. We've got the NBA season underway, NHL season underway as well, college basketball, and very soon we'll have Major League Baseball. I'm about to get my Royals tickets for this season, and if you guys want to get your tickets as well, you can do so by going over to SeatGeek. SeatGeek is where I go to for all my sports ticketing needs, concerts, whatever it is you want to attend. And if you're a new SeatGeek customer, you can use my promo code Farzin, save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, get your tickets at checkout. New customers can enter my promo code Farzin, save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. All right. Appreciate everyone tuning in on this Monday night. Let's get right into it here. Now, as we all know, as far as significant coaching changes go, Matt Nagy, not fired. Want to be very clear. I think a lot of people still are unaware of that, but he is without a contract for 2026. So as soon as that Raiders game ended, to my understanding, technically coaches are under contract until like the entire postseason, but really there's nothing for them to do. So Matt Nagy is, even though the Chiefs are receiving requests for him to be available for interviews, he's technically a free agent offensive coordinator who has interviewed for 4 head coaching vacancies: Cardinals, Raiders, Titans, and the Ravens. We also learned that Connor Embry, the wide receivers coach, he was let go last week. And I know there have been a couple of quality control coaches. I'm not too concerned about those positions. Not to say those guys are not anything relevant or significant. No, not at all. But we don't talk about those coaching positions as often. I mean, let's be honest. What radio show or podcast does? I don't know of any that does. Now, one coach that's still on the team that I think is a surprise to a lot of people is Dave Toub. Dave Toub and his unit have had a couple of bad seasons, especially in the return game. Feels like there's a holding call every other return. Sometimes, some games, every return has a holding call, it feels like. Well, here's my thing on this. And I said this roughly 10 hours ago, Monday morning. And here we are Monday evening, pulling up on 6:30 here. It's been 8 days since Kansas City season ended. It ended around this time, 6:30-ish last Sunday. If Dave Toub is not going to get let go by now, I don't think he ever will. I think he is your special teams coordinator for the 2026 season. Maybe you're okay with that. Maybe you're not okay with that. But I think Dave Toub is going to be your special teams coordinator going into next season. He's sticking around. Excuse me. And you might wonder, what is the reason for that? I think the Chiefs are going to try to form a better roster. Yes, you got to have the right 22 in place, but I think the second set of 22 plus the last few guys that aren't your kicker, punter, long snapper, your quarterbacks, basically any key player that can contribute on special teams, I think they want to make sure they have a better group of guys for special teams. I know they really like Cooper McDonald, the undrafted free agent who joined the Chiefs this year and really was a guy that drew a lot of reactions in training camp, then in the preseason, and was a big part of Kansas City's special teams all year long. I know Toub said that he was the team's highest graded special teams player this year. So a guy like him, they're definitely going to want to bring back. But you know, a guy like Jack Cochran, who committed a lot of penalties this year on special teams, is that a guy who you want to bring back for 2026? I mean, there's a lot to figure out there. Now, Harrison Butker, and I posted the numbers on this today. Obviously, Harrison Butker got off to a wildly slow start to the season. Weeks 1 through 8, he missed 3 field goals and 3 PATs. In weeks 9 through 18, yes, there's a bye week in there. He only missed 2 field goals, attempted far more kicks. Now, he attempted 15 less PATs and only missed 1. Yeah, the PAT number is severely low there, which is pretty unfortunate considering that means the Chiefs scored fewer touchdowns. But the field goal number was much higher. Now, 21 of 23. Listen, I remember in 2023, he made every PAT and every field goal except for 2. He only missed 2 field goals, and that was in back-to-back weeks where in the New England game, that was when Belichick was still coaching there. Maybe Butker kicked a deflated football. I remember that was a thing coming out of that game. And then the following week was that Raiders Christmas game when nothing was working, even on special teams. So he made every single field goal outside of those 2 kicks and made every PAT that year. Can Harrison Butker revert back to his 2023 form where, honestly speaking, he should have been an all-pro kicker that year, and he wasn't, which is a shame. I thought he played much better in the second half. I thought Matt Ariza was far better this year, especially with directional punting. He led the league in touchbacks the year before. What was essentially his rookie season. And I think he was showing off that cannon of a leg there. But this year, you didn't see as many touchbacks from Matt Ariza. Unfortunately, you did see Ariza have to punt more this year because of the issues the Chiefs had all around. But you didn't see Ariza consistently kick the ball into the end zone or punt the ball into the end zone, I should say. You saw better production from Ariza in that category. So I thought he definitely had some improvements that he made this season. And I'm trying to pull up the numbers here. Ariza only had 3 touchbacks. And how many punts did he have? He had 56 punts. I remember at one point, he did not have a lot of punts at all. I think he had like the second fewest punts this year. So out of 56 punts, he only had 3 touchbacks. And I'm trying to pull up the numbers from the year before. He co-led the league in touchbacks the year before with 9 off 62 punts, almost the same amount, not too far apart. So I thought Ariza definitely made strides into the right direction. Certainly showed improvement. Had what? About 7 or 8 fewer punts. But he did show some improvement there. And I think that's good to see. The return game, boy, I think the part that really stings the most is Nico Remigio, who had a couple of really big returns in the postseason before against the Texans in the opening kickoff, had that 67-yard kick return, whatever it was. And then against the Bills a week later in the AFC Championship game, had a 41-yard punt return that led to a quick 6-play touchdown drive. But we didn't see that production. Name one big significant return the Chiefs had this year. There might have been one from Brashard Smith or Tyquan Thornton, but I can't tell you of a significant return that just got me excited. So it is pretty interesting to see the Chiefs and just kind of where they are with their coaching staff right now. Dave Toub appears to be coming back. Again, maybe some of you guys like that. Maybe some of you guys don't. Now, here's where things are a little interesting. We have not had one single report or announcement of the Chiefs interviewing anybody for their offensive coordinator position. So right before the end of the regular season, the report from NFL Network was, and this came from, I believe, both Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport, that Matt Nagy was expected to be a key candidate for this head coaching cycle. And he has been. 4 teams have interviewed him. 4 of the 7 teams that have a vacancy. The follow-up report to that, right before the end of the regular season, was that if he does not get a head coaching job, he wants to go elsewhere to be an offensive coordinator that will allow him to also be the play caller. Should also tell you what that really says about Kansas City's offensive coaching situation in terms of who calls the plays, because I know that's been a big mystery for quite some time. Is it Bieniemy, or was it Bieniemy? Is it Nagy? Is it Reed? Is it the OC? Is it the head coach? Well, I think it should have been clear for a while that it's always been Andy Reid. But now we know. So when you look at the Chiefs at the moment, they don't have an offensive coordinator lined up to interview. Now, you can still interview teams. You can interview coaches who are still on teams that their season is not over. They're still in the playoffs right now. Look, I know one big name that's out there is Eric Bieniemy, who, by the way, his Chicago Bears had a hell of a game against the Packers. The other name that I think a lot of Chiefs fans are interested in seeing, and I know this one is expected to get some interesting views here for offensive coordinator positions, is the Rams pass game coordinator, Nate Scheelhaase. Look, they're playing each other this week. So listen, as a fan of football, I want the Bears to go far. And I also like the Rams story. Those 2 teams, I would not mind it if either one of them won a Super Bowl, but that's not what this discussion is about. I will say I am predicting the Rams to win on what day do they play? Sunday. Yeah, they play Sunday. So I'm picking the Rams to win that game. Selfishly, I want the Rams to win that game because I think that will open up the door for Eric Bieniemy to quickly return to Kansas City. That cannot happen soon enough. And by the way, for everyone that's saying, oh, we need fresh ideas, we need new blood, young blood, what does that mean? Why does this team need fresh ideas? What does that entail? Please enlighten me on this. The Chiefs do not need quote unquote fresh ideas. They need ideas that worked when the offense ranked in the top 6 every year. Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator, ranked in the top 6 in total yards and points scored. To be clear, the Chiefs were never above 9th in total offense in yardage. They were never above 15th in scoring under Matt Nagy in his second stint, to be clear. So I don't really know where people come from with this you fresh ideas. No, the Chiefs do not need fresh ideas. They need fresh ideas away from Matt Nagy. That's for sure. What they really need is to go back to the ideas that worked from 2018 to 2022, where Patrick Mahomes won 2 league MVPs. The Chiefs, during that time, at one season, had the 3rd highest scoring output in NFL history. And in another season, Patrick Mahomes broke the NFL record for total yardage, passing and rushing. And so many other great things happened in between. That's what the Chiefs need. They don't need fresh ideas like a lot of Chiefs fans are suggesting out there. So hopefully it's Eric Bieniemy that is who Andy Reid's eyeing. And if it's not him, perhaps it could be Mike Kafka or Nate Scheelhaus. And I suppose we can't ever dismiss the possibility of Doug Peterson in case any of those options do not fall into Kansas City's lap there. Fun fact, Steelers have not lost a Monday night home game at home. Okay, well, there you go. I'm still picking the Texans. You picked the Bills, shame on you. Yeah, but I was right, Jason, and I went 5-0 this weekend. Harold Attic picked the wide receiver that I picked in the last stream, Mekhi Lemon. Oh, there you go. I don't know if picking a receiver with the first pick, with the 9th pick, I assume. I don't know if that's a wise idea. I mean, look, I know the Rashee Rice thing is a little weird right now. He'll still be under contract unless there's evidence he did something awful. And I'll get it to Rice shortly. You just drafted him in the 2nd round not too long ago. You just spent a first-round pick on Worthy, not last year, but the year before. If you're going to go offense in the 1st round, I mean, unless there's a wide receiver you really think is going to be the next Jerry Rice, I think you've got to look at an offensive lineman, unless you are confident in your 5 guys being Simmons, Suamataia, Humphrey, Smith, and maybe Jalen Moore. Jeremiah Love, I know, is out there. That seems to be the most popular pick amongst Chiefs fans right now. So we'll see. Hire John Gruden for OC. If John Gruden's going to come back, it's going to be as a head coach. I don't think he'll come back as an assistant coach. I heard they will be changing the game day locker room catering. The food did not have the right amount of tonsil tickling. Any news on that? Oh, Tim, I'm not going to lie. You had me in the first half there. I was like, where in the hell is Tim going with that comment? Jason says, I thought special teams did some great things this year. Not a ton of long returns, but they made some great plays. I can't say I agree with that. Rashard popped in special teams, but not till late in the season. Why? Jesse, I don't know, man. There were a lot of question marks about the usage on special teams this year, and I don't quite understand it. I really don't. Do I think Travis Kelce is going to retire? David's asking on TikTok. No, I don't. I think he looked better this year than he did last year, so I think he'll come back for one more season. The fact you had to go back that far to show something positive. Wait, what do you mean? What do I have to go back to show something positive? I'm confused. Don't care where Nagy goes as long as it's not in Kansas City. Yeah. No news. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I said, Brian. They can request interviews, but we haven't heard anything on that front for Kansas City, which is odd. I hope that does not mean Nagy's coming back. I'd be, oh boy. Listen, 3 years was enough. 1 year was enough. 3 is definitely putting up with him. Look, obviously the season did not end the way anyone thought it was going to, but look, what happened has happened, and you can't really change the past, but you can improve for the future. And look, not having a postseason gives Kansas City the opportunity to change their coaching staff and bring in the guys they want. Because as much as you probably wanted to move away from Embry much sooner, the problem is you've reached the Super Bowl every year. Now, that's a great problem to have, but by mid-February, a lot of teams have their coaching staffs put together. So even though Embry, wasn't a viable wide receivers coach, I guess the idea was you couldn't really bring anyone else in because it was too late. My theory is even in mid-February, there had to have been somebody available better than him. But listen, he's gone now, so I guess that's over with. We need someone who won't get starstruck and will hold them accountable. I agree. Wholeheartedly agree, Jennifer. I still would like to see what Doug Peterson could do with Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I agree. I think Doug Peterson can do some good things. No, Susie, I'm not. Any account that belongs to me is with my name or the Chiefs Zone. Yeah, there have been a couple of Chiefs pages in the past that have claimed to be me. I don't know why, but that's not me. So there's your answer. Of the fired head coaches, who would be the best fit as KC offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator if Spags gets coach? Defensive coordinator, I will say I would not be upset at all if Raheem Morris became defensive coordinator of the Chiefs if Spags ever gets a head coaching offer. As far as offensive coordinator goes, wouldn't be too upset about Mike McDaniel. Would not be my first option. I certainly would not be opposed to Brian Daboll. And you're asking of head coaches that are fired or just got fired, Tim. Yeah, I mean, Brian Daboll, I certainly would not be opposed. Again, I know his first time with Kansas City was not good, but I think, listen, he's a far different coach since then. He's come a long ways. I also would not be opposed to Mike Kafka, not a head coach per se, more of an interim head coach, but someone that's very familiar with the offensive coaching scheme and what's expected. So I think he would be someone that the Chiefs would welcome back if that opportunity is there. Fresh ideas like going under center, using play action. Andy's offense hasn't evolved. The definition of insanity. Sure. I mean, I don't necessarily think that's quote unquote fresh ideas. And listen, I know this is not what you said, Jeff, but there are a lot of people that want some young offensive coordinator, which look, and again, I'm not opposed to a young offensive coordinator, but what exactly would a young offensive coordinator do that a veteran offensive coordinator can't do? Like, again, my top option is Eric Bieniemy because I think with him, that will revert you back to going back to doing things that you used to do, like some of the things you were mentioning, Jeff, going under center, play action, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it is pretty puzzling that the Chiefs shied away from a lot of that this year. I certainly do not understand that. Not at all. Bleed Arrowhead says, I will lick the pavement of the entire 26-mile length of the Boston Marathon if the Chiefs go offensive line at pick 9. I don't think they will, but everyone screenshot that. That is pretty funny because if that happens, I want everyone to hold Bleed Arrowhead accountable. And I want video of that Bleed Arrowhead if that happens. But I think you're safe on that. Nagy has been with the Chiefs for 5 years. It's pretty clear Nagy will not be a Chief again. No, certainly not. Has a running back coach been let go? Gage is asking. No. Daniel says we do not need new blood in the coaching staff. We don't need any recycling coaches. Why do we not need recycling coaches? Why not bring back what worked? If the Chiefs brought back Eric Bieniemy, if they brought back Greg Lewis, and I'm suggesting Greg Lewis because when he was in Kansas City, he was a wide receivers coach. He was also the wide receivers coach with the Ravens. For whatever reason, the Chiefs moved him to running backs coach. I don't know what it is. The Chiefs kind of get weird with moving assistant coaches to positions that they're not necessarily qualified to coach. Greg Lewis was a great wide receivers coach. No reason at all to have moved him to running backs coach when they did. I mean, you have Todd Pinkston coaching running backs, which makes no sense. Connor Embry was coaching wide receivers. Could Connor Embry be a good running backs coach? I don't know. Maybe. I'd rather give him a chance at running backs coach than ever see him coach wide receivers again, because there was no reason for him to be coaching that position. He's never played wide receiver. He was a running back in college. Maybe Pinkston was let go. I'm not sure. Old offensive coordinator, while I've watched thousands more hours of tape of footage than a young OC. Certainly, but listen, these offensive assistants, all assistants, offense and defense, they all watch tons of hours of footage. I don't think people realize this. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Last Chance U on Netflix. Seasons 1 and 2 took place in East Mississippi. Seasons 3 and 4 were in Independence, Kansas. Certainly worth watching those 2 seasons if you get a chance. But in seasons 1 and 2, the offensive coordinator is shown way after drive time. Like, it is already way dark outside, and he is in his office just watching game film, just hanging out in a hoodie, hood up, watching game film. This is what NFL coaches do also. I mean, if that is what a junior college offensive coordinator is doing, imagine an NFL offensive coordinator doing the exact same thing. So listen, of course, a veteran has far more experience and have watched more, but even the younger coaches will have plenty of tape as well. People think Tyreek is coming back. What do you think? Marianne is asking. No, I don't think so. I don't think, unless he's playing for a cheap price, which I doubt. Listen, we all know Tyreek Hill's got a lot of kids. That ain't a very cheap lifestyle. You got to get a lot of money there. And I know the rumor is he'll get let go. Plus, I mean, listen, you already have a headache with Rashee Rice and what he's dealing with, and I promise we'll get into Rashee Rice shortly. Tyreek Hill's also been a head case off the field. He's always involved in something, allegedly. That's not something the Chiefs want to put up with again. They're already dealing with it plenty enough with Rice. Listen, I think Tyquan Thornton is going to be he's a good young receiver that hasn't been used a whole lot and has a lot of tread in the tires. So I hope they bring him back. I think he would be just fine. How do I get such good inside photos? I don't know what that means. Will the Chiefs come back to life next year? I think they will. Yeah, I think so too. Right now, would I bet on them to win the division? Probably not. But at the end of the day, listen, the Chiefs have earned the benefit of the doubt that they'll bounce back 100%. So I would bet on them certainly making it back to the playoffs. Tyreek lost credit when he ran his mouth after he left KC. Yeah, he had a lot to say after leaving the Chiefs. That was interesting for sure. And then, last year was kind of a weird year. Not this past year where he got injured, but the year before where he was, having all these cryptic posts and was sharing photos of his time in Kansas City. It's like, what message are you trying to send? I know, people on social media, fans, the media, they go crazy over cryptic posts on social, but and I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't know why Tyreek commenting a lot on the Chiefs stuff lately. Are you sure? Again, comment all you want, but number one, listen, we all know Kansas City's cap situation is not very good. And again, I have a hard time believing Tyreek Hill will play for a cheap price. Do you think Tyreek Hill is going to play for a couple $1 million? Hell no. Listen, I as much as he has been utilized like hell over the course of his career since 2016, listen, I still think he has some stuff left in the tank. But I don't know if Kansas City can afford him at the moment. Kansas City can probably get more production for less money from Tyquan Thornton and Rashee Rice, bringing them back. I'm sorry, not Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, bringing those two guys back. And look, the hill I'm willing to die on is that I think that group of wide receivers you just had this past year will do better under a better offensive coordinator and a better wide receivers coach. Will we get to see that? I don't know. Well, it's hard to keep players together. I still think that wide receiver room is a good group of wide receivers. They just weren't led by a good coaching staff. He regretted leaving Kansas City? Oh, 1,000%. Listen, he'll never publicly say it, but you can tell. Like, remember when the Chiefs were getting ready for Super Bowl, I think it was Super Bowl 58 against the 49ers. They interviewed Tyreek Hill at the NFL Honors. And the question was, did you wish you were still with the Chiefs right now? Well, it's a little weird question because what is he going to do? Throw his entire current Miami teammates under the bus? Of course not. But he kind of admitted that, he wishes he was still. Listen, even when you get traded, the guys who you played with and won a championship with, those are your boys for life. And he didn't shy away from the fact that he wished he was still playing with those guys. Yeah, he talked about how Tua is the most accurate quarterback he's ever seen and all this stuff that no one really believed, even himself. But I think Tyreek realized, yeah, he took the bag instead of the glory. Travis Kelce was heavily underpaid. Travis Kelce, and I know he did a bunch of magazine interviews in 2023 or 2024. I can't remember what year it was. I think it was 2023. And Travis Kelce said in that interview that his longtime teammate, Tyreek Hill, got traded and got a big contract, but he was never chasing a big contract in Kansas City. He was always willing to play for less. That way the Chiefs could spend more elsewhere. It was only the last 2 years Travis Kelce made more money. So for people that make a big deal about Kelce getting 800 some yards while being one of the highest paid tight ends, I've got no issue with that because he was severely underpaid for a majority, really his entire time in Kansas City. He never demanded to be the highest paid tight end, even in his prime. And I think you can definitely appreciate that from Travis Kelce. Tyreek Hill, yeah, certainly regretting that decision. Thoughts on bringing in Shieldhouse or maybe McDaniel? Yeah, we went over that earlier, Nate. Shieldhouse, I think, is certainly going to be a very hot commodity for this coaching cycle, more so for an offensive coordinator than a head coach. And I'm sure the Chiefs will certainly look into that. Mike McDaniel, I wouldn't be upset, but that would not be my top option. Dalton's asking, did you see Demarcus Robinson cookie? Yes, he had a great game for the 49ers. We should have kept him reliable hands. Yeah, but the problem with Demarcus Robinson when he was in Kansas City, both as a wide receiver and as a returner, the dude ran backwards so much. It's like, why? Why are you doing that? It's like he was playing Madden. Yeah, he was still a top 5 tight end this year and last year. All right, we got to get into Rashee Rice here. And I want to get this podcast over with before Monday Night Football begins. So Rashee Rice's ex put out a lengthy Instagram post claiming domestic violence against Rashee Rice, accusing him of domestic violence. She has several photos of bruises on her body, her face, her lip, her leg, broken closets, broken mirrors, holes on walls, all kinds of pictures. But no clear-cut evidence that it was specifically Rashee Rice who did this. Now, over the weekend, something weird happened. She deleted the Instagram post. Obviously, attorneys got involved. Someone got involved. Somebody from Rashee Rice's team, whether it's his legal attorney, uh, agent, manager, somebody got involved. And I think promises were made. What promises specifically, I don't know. For those saying that Rice promised to pay her, especially if Rice can get a new contract this offseason or next offseason, maybe. I mean, I don't think Rice paid her anything in this moment because Rice has not made a lot of money in his career up to this point. A lot of the money that he's made has gone to legal attorney fees for the driving incident last year and probably the fees that he has to pay for damages. So Rice is not really in any position to be paying his ex a lot of money to keep her quiet or to ask her to delete things. So my question is, look, something happened. Who caused it to happen? I don't know. But this is, I don't know if the situation is just going to magically go away like this. I know the NFL is going to look into it. They said they are. So what happened and when are we going to find out? I don't know. What I do know is when Andy Reid gets ready to speak at the combine, and he's done this in past off seasons with Tyreek Hill, with his own son, and with a couple of other incidents. I know even when unofficial trades have been made, Andy Reid has said, hey, I know there's stuff about Alex Smith and Marcus Peters out there. I can't comment on them. Same thing with Joe Tooney last year. Couldn't comment on it, even though that was, I can't remember if the Joe Tooney trade was official before or after the combine. I want to say it was before, but don't quote me on that. So my guess is when Andy Reid speaks to the media at the combine, his first words will be, hey, welcome back. Glad to see you guys. I just want to let you all know, I know there's something going on with Rashee Rice. Can't comment on it. I appreciate the questions, but I can't comment on it. That's it. So we're not going to be given a lot of answers here, which is going to drive some people nuts, but okay. I mean, everyone will survive, I guess. Look, where do we go from here with Rashee Rice? Because he's had 3 incidents to which he has been tied into. The driving incident, we know that for a fact. The evidence is out there. He was behind the wheel. We saw that. The incident at the nightclub with a photographer, we don't know what really happened. All of that is just accusations. The domestic violence thing, that is all just an accusation. We don't know for sure what happened in all of those instances. What we do know is Rashee Rice constantly finds himself with these dramatic deals. No one accidentally puts themselves in dramatic situations. Rashee Rice, I mean, maybe he already did that after the Dallas driving incident, and if not, better do it now. Whether it's someone you sleep with or just your buddies, Rashee Rice better start hanging out with the right people. Because if not, someone's going to cost him a big NFL contract. Listen, Rice is certainly capable of getting a big deal. Now, he didn't have a very impressive season this past year, but he's got a chance to fix that this year. Because I think 12 months from now, we could be talking about Rashee Rice earning himself a big contract. I don't think it's happening this offseason. I don't. I think he's got to show himself in 2026, play a full season, and ball out like you did at the start of 2024. Oh, and on top of that, stay the hell out of trouble. Surround yourself with the right people. Again, I recognize we don't have all the facts here, but what we do have is Rice is tied into drama. And this is a third time something off the field maybe happened with Rice. Remember this happened with Kareem Hunt? Even the incident that came up on video, it didn't come up, the video didn't surface right away. Kareem Hunt was involved in 3 situations. Now, at the time, we only knew of 2 of them. The Chiefs claim they were aware of the third. Technically, it was chronologically the first incident, which I don't know if I believe, but neither here nor there. Kareem Hunt was involved in a couple of situations off the field. And when video came out for one of them, the Chief said, okay, not only were you dishonest with us, but this is a pattern clearly. And we can't afford for this to happen every offseason with you. Rice is kind of in a similar bubble right now. I think the Chiefs certainly did a forgive moment with Rice. He was probably honest about a lot of the things that occurred with that crash, but boy, I hope to God for his sake he was honest about everything that happened in the nightclub bar photographer incident. I hope he's been very honest about this incident. Because we know what the Chiefs will do if you're not honest. And if there's any video that comes out of him doing anything awful, because of the bad PR the Chiefs have had over the years, I don't know if they would be willing to hear him out or be willing to keep him around. I think Kansas City's trying to improve their team from a PR standpoint. Oh, and by the way, he's on probation right now, and he still has his 30 days in jail that he needs to serve. I don't know how the Chiefs have problems at wide receivers. First Hill, then Rice, heck, even Worthy. Yeah, I mean, listen, and look, who knows what really happened with the Worthy deal? I know he got charged and arrested, and then the DA spoke to witnesses and dropped the charge and dropped the investigation. Something happened. Now, listen, I know Worthy, his rookie year, I think it was, he had his car stolen. Look, yeah, your car stolen. That's not something that was within your control, unfortunately. Who knows how that happened, but that's not him doing anything bad off the field. That's unfortunate. But as far as we know, that's the only time Worthy's name has been tied into anything. And I pray that's the only time we'll ever hear. Because, listen, even though he didn't have a good season this past year, and maybe the shoulder injury played a factor in that, I think Worthy is going to be an important part of your future for a long time. With that speed and what he did in Texas, and even his rookie year, I thought he showed some flashes during the second half of the season. There's an opportunity for Mahomes and Worthy to do some good things for a long time. Maybe even all 3 of those guys, Mahomes, Worthy, and Rice, if Rice can stay out of trouble, which unfortunately we've been saying that a lot with Rice for more than a year now. Listen, I see some comments. People are saying, oh, she was extorting him, trying to get money out of him. Look, I'm not here to dismiss anyone's domestic violence claim. I have no reason to believe her, and I have no reason to accuse her of lying. I don't know what happened. None of us do. Maybe it would be like the Kareem Hunt thing where something comes out months later. Maybe nothing will come out of this at all. I don't know. What I do know is Rice at some point will face the media. Even if this is going to be several months later, the situation does not just magically get forgotten about. He will get asked about this. So we'll have to see how that, yeah, John, you're absolutely right. They do have tremendous upside. And I think that's the concern here. Like, you have 2 very good wide receivers with serious potential. And again, I'm going to fall on the sword of they'll be even better if you have a better coaching staff around them on the offensive side of the football. And maybe that's on the way. We'll see. But man, just stay out of trouble. And look, I don't know what Andy Reid and Brett Veach or Clark Hunt have said to these players about staying out of trouble. But I think somebody's got to come down with a stern tone and say, look, not only should you not be drinking and driving, not only should you not be committing assault, but you got to start surrounding yourself with the right people, man. Because it just takes one wrong person to be surrounded by, whether it's a lover, a friend, to say, hey, you did this. Maybe you did or you didn't. So it's a little unfortunate. The Chiefs just keep finding themselves in these situations with their players. Listen, we know Kareem Hunt, he overcame a lot. Has Kareem Hunt gotten in serious trouble since then? He was, police were called to a bar that Hunt was at the time. No one really knows what happened then. And then he was pulled over because he had weed in the car. Should he have had that? No. Listen, you want to smoke weed? Fine. Just do it where it's allowed. But other than that, has Kareem Hunt been accused of assaulting anyone since he was cut by the Chiefs? No, he has not. So you can get better from things. You can improve. And I think that's what I like so much about Kareem Hunt's story, is that he has learned his lesson and has gotten better from it. My thought is go to the cops, not post on IG. If it's true, Gay says, you have a valid point. I talked to a friend about this. And she has a friend that also works in social work. And she told me that sometimes in these situations, someone will claim domestic violence and they will speak to an attorney, but the attorney will respond to them and say that they feel like they don't have enough evidence. And maybe that's why she chose to go there. Again, that is speculation on my end. I don't know why she chose to go the route of an Instagram post with 18, 19, 20 photos. And maybe she has even more photos. We don't know. Laura says, why do I think they are not using Tyquan Thornton more? He had some fire catches. You're right. He had he averaged 23 yards a catch. At one point, it was 25 yards a catch. Why didn't they use him more? I don't know. I was calling for this all year long. Like, this guy was your most effective wide receiver. He only had one bad play, and I can't remember what game that was against. I think it was Houston, where he had the ball in his hands. And yes, there was a defender for the Texans who made a great play, popping the ball out of his hands. You still got to come down with it. But that was the only one wrong thing Tyquan Thornton did all year. Everything else Tyquan Thornton did was a 10 out of 10 in my eyes. So, yeah, utilize that guy more. Bring him back and utilize him more, please. The Chiefs absolutely could have used him more last season, more than worthy, I thought. Farzine, you are giving Rice too much credit. He is who he is. As someone, I lost the comment. As someone just mentioned, he is the, quote, wrong person. I've been around the likes of him. He has a lot of growing up to do. I don't disagree. He has a lot of growing up to do. I've been saying many times, Antoinette, like, he needs to surround himself by the right people, whether it's someone you sleep with or just people you hang out with. Rice, unfortunately, has not been around the right crowd. He was hanging out with some buddies that thought it was a good idea to go racing in the highway, the streets of Dallas. On top of that, flee the scene. And he has an ex-partner who's accused him of DV. Whether it's true or not, we don't know. But boy, you got to surround yourself by the right people. Marianne said, why keep those photos for so long? Listen, people choose to keep themselves in relationships that they honestly should not be in. For what reasons, I don't know. And look, I'm not about to turn into Dr. John Deloney or Dr. Laura Schlesinger for you guys, because that is way out of my realm of expertise. But I do listen to programs like those guys, albeit one of them is controversial. And even if you listen to a show like Dave Ramsey, you hear people talk about how they're being abused emotionally and financially. And the question then comes up is, why do you choose to stay in that relationship? I seen your video on the sideline. You should have had a chat with Andy. Yeah, I don't think Andy has time for me. His wife, Tammy, walked up to me and she was super, super sweet. And she's hilarious. I don't know if you guys watched the docuseries, The Kingdom. The way Tammy Reed is, on there, she's exactly the same way off the field. Now, granted, I only got to speak to her just a couple of minutes. Had the chance to speak to Tavia Hunt for a couple of minutes. You guys saw that video. Both very sweet and awesome people. But Tammy Reed, she's hilarious. She's awesome. She really is. Did Mahomes have an accuracy problem this year, or are we hanging this all on the OC? No, I listen, I've said all along, I said during the season, I do think Mahomes had an accuracy issue, the same way the receivers had a drop issue. The same way the receivers did not run the right routes. Now, whenever things look like they were good on the receivers, and yeah, Mahomes did have an issue with the deep passes this year. And I think one thing Mahomes has had an issue with that no one's talking about over the last couple of years under Matt Nagy, it just feels like Mahomes has had a lot of passes tipped by defensive linemen. I hardly ever saw Mahomes allow defensive linemen or edge rushers, guys who are up front fighting the offensive linemen. I hardly ever saw Mahomes allow a defender up front to tip a pass under Eric Bieniemy. So yes, the onus is still on the players, but I still think a better offensive coordinator will nullify a lot of the issues the Chiefs have had over the last 3 years. Listen, go look up the numbers. It's out there. The Chiefs were in the top 6 in total yards and points scored under Bieniemy. Under Nagy, they were no higher than 9th in total offense, and they were no higher than 15th in scoring. All 3 years. I mean, that's not an accident. 3 years is a long time to be able to discern that, to look over that data. So hopefully they'll figure that out, because I do think that is extremely important. All right, let's get into these wildcard games. I want to get this podcast over with within the next few minutes, as the Steelers and the Texans are about to kick off. We're 5-0, by the way, with our picks this week. So for those of you who joined along with us, on our DraftKings picks, congratulations. You're 5-0 right now. You've got a chance to cash out if you'd like. Or if you feel confident about the Texans, you can certainly stick with that pick as well and win right there, baby. Let's go in order. Rams and Panthers. I thought this was going to be a blowout. Give credit to Bryce Young. I thought this was one of his best games he's ever played in his career. Certainly things he could have done better, but man, listen, I think the Rams they had more to be desired. Puka Nacua, who, by the way, had a phenomenal game. 10 catches, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. Could have had more touchdowns, though. The one he dropped, certainly significant, but Puka Nacua, he balled out, had a great game. Devontae Adams, being part of your wide receiver room, has certainly helped out. So it's good to see the Rams pull out a win in this one. Panthers, they finish 8-9 in a weak division. Perhaps, putting up a fight like this, I know coaches don't like moral victories, but I think there's something to be taken away from if you're the Panthers. The game of the week, I told you guys this was going to be the game of the week, and this is the biggest game from Wild Card Weekend. Bears-Packers. Listen, there are a lot of candidates, great candidates for game of the week this weekend, but I'm going with Bears-Packers. This game looked like it was over with 5 minutes to go. The Packers had a 2-score lead, and then what do you know, on 4th and 8, Caleb Williams, while in midair being tripped up by an edge rusher, found a wide open receiver, and 361 yards, 24 of 48, not a great completion percentage there, literally half, but they found a way to pull through. 25 points in the fourth quarter. Man, the Bears have been fun to watch this season. They really have. This has been a fun story. And I do think it comes to an end this weekend. And again, I know teams don't like moral victories, especially with the amount of work you've put in to even get to this point and wanting to go beyond. But if you're Chicago, you got to feel pretty damn good about this. I've been hearing from a lot of Packers podcasters. A lot of them are saying it's not blowing the lead that hurts. It's who you blew the lead against that hurts. I mean, this would be like the Chiefs doing this against the Broncos or the Raiders in a playoff game. You don't ever want to see this or you don't ever want to see this. But against a division rival, yeah, that is going to sting 1,000 times more. Do you not think Bears fans are going to remind Packers fans of this all offseason long on social media? Hell yeah, they're going to. The score was 1-1 this year, and the Bears won the most important meeting of the season, and they did it in style. Look, I know the rumors out there that Matt LaFleur is going to get a contract extension. One thing I like to do after a game on primetime, if something crazy happens, I want to listen to the city's sports talk radio station because they'll do a post-game show and they'll take calls. Oh boy. There was a firestorm in Green Bay. Everybody that called in wanted Matt LaFleur out. Because there was a rumor before the game that he was about to get a contract extension. And that still seems to be the case. So there are not a lot of happy Green Bay Packers fans at the moment. On Sunday, Bills, Jags. This one I thought was probably the game that you just did not know what was going to happen. It was a fairly low scoring game in the first half, really through the first three quarters. The score was 13-10 after three quarters. And then in the second half, they both scored 2 touchdowns. The punters, they sat on the sidelines. This was a back and forth boxing match. Out of all the wild card games this weekend, this was the best fourth quarter. Now, yeah, the Bears had the exciting come from behind win, but this was one in the fourth quarter where you truly had no idea who was going to win. The Bills, they got their first road playoff win since the same week Bill Clinton got inaugurated. Take that to the sports cooler. I guess we got to stay live on TikTok. There we go. Now we're sticking around there. Josh Allen, listen, a lot of people doubted the Bills this weekend. I said, don't sleep on the Bills. Yes, they have holes. Yes, they have issues. Yes, the coaching staff has certainly been suspect this year. But do not sleep on Josh Allen. And look, I like the Jaguars. I think Liam Cohen 1,000% should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. And I think Trevor Lawrence should certainly get some praise this year for his improvement. But I think the Jaguars, they made some crucial mistakes with decisions, as well as Lawrence with the decision making that led to the 2 picks. One of them at the end of the game. But boy, there's a lot to feel good about if you're Jacksonville. People thought Jacksonville was going to fall apart mid-season. They never did. They went on a tear. What did they win? 8 in a row to end the season? 8 in a row. They figured it out. And I think the future's bright for Jacksonville moving forward. Another big game. This one I said was going to be the upset of the week, and that's exactly what happened. The 49ers, I think, were 4.5-point underdogs in this one here. They pulled out a big win over the Eagles, 23-19. Eagles had a shot to win this game. But man, 13 points in the fourth quarter for the 49ers. The Eagles only had 2 field goals the entire second half. Listen, I tuned into WIP 94 radio. My good friend Jody McDonald, who's been on this podcast before, and I've been on his his former national radio show. Again, hopefully he gets back on the national scene soon because Infinity Sports Radio is now defunct, which is a shame. That radio station should have never been defunct. But Jody has done a lot of work in the Philadelphia sports talk radio realm for a long time. And I listen to WIP 94. Oh, listen, I get Eagles fans are not easy to please, but every single Eagles fan calling in wanted either Sirianni gone, Hurts gone, Kevin Petula gone. They definitely want AJ Brown gone. Oh boy. I mean, listen, Eagles fans have done this a lot. Even last year, after a 2-2 start, I think it was, they wanted Nick Sirianni out. Well, what happened? They destroyed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You still won the Super Bowl less than a year ago. I think if you listen, I get Kevin Petula might have been an issue, and maybe he's going to be on the way out. But chill out on the Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. Listen, I don't like Nick Sirianni. A lot of people don't. But this guy just won you a Super Bowl 11 months ago, and he took you to another Super Bowl a couple of years prior. let's chill out a little bit, Eagles fans. Get yourself a Philly cheesesteak. Get your favorite beer. Slow down a bit. Because it's not all that bad. Sure, this was not at all what you wanted as reigning champs, but I still think the Eagles will be a good football team moving forward. Let's chill out on what. Listen, Doug Peterson got fired in 3 or 4 years as Eagles coach, and he won a Super Bowl with that crew. But I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll be fine. The last one, the least exciting and the least competitive game of them all, Patriots Chargers. Drake May came through with a dart and backups there. That was an issue. And listen, they had issues all year long, but the defense stood strong all year for the Chargers. So, and listen, give credit to Jesse Minter, who's getting some looks as defensive coordinator. He challenged that Patriots offense with Drake May. But 6 sacks, it's going to be hard to win a playoff game when you're getting sacked 6 times. Now, I still think at the end of the day, something needs to be looked into with this Chargers team. Because in the 3 playoff games under Justin Herbert, they scored 31 points, or no, I'm sorry, 30 points. I can't remember. Was it 31 or 30? The one where they blew a big lead to the Jags. I think it was 30 points. They lost that game. They scored 12 points last year against the Texans. They lost that game. They scored 3 points in yesterday's meeting and lost, obviously. They are scoring fewer and fewer points every time when they get into the playoffs with Justin Herbert. Now, I get it. He's got a banged up offensive line, but you still found a way to get through in the regular season. You got this far and you only put up 3 points in the playoffs. That's not good. Now, from the Patriots side of things, yeah, their offense has some things to work on. Playing a really good Chargers defense. And I think if you're a Chiefs fan, that's something you need to make a note of next year, because this Chargers defense, the Chargers aren't going away. I did not think the Chargers were going to be a playoff team. I thought it was going to be the Chiefs and the Broncos from the AFC West. The Chargers under Jim Harbaugh, I mean, they're gonna be a problem for some time, especially that defense. And I think Kansas City needs to have a great offensive line in place to protect Patrick Mahomes when they play the Chargers twice next year. So those are the 5 games. Now, I want to go back to the Bills and Jaguars game, because following that game, Liam Cohen was not necessarily asked a question by this reporter. She is an associate editor from the Jacksonville Free Press, Lynn Jones-Turpin. She basically was encouraging, saying, hey, listen, we know it's a tough ending, but keep your head up. You did the city proud. You did this team proud. And Liam, had a smile on his face and said, thank you, ma'am. That kind of thing. She's getting mostly praise, but there are also people out there who are, they're attacking her. They're criticizing her for this. Mark Long of the AP is talking about how she is wasting people's time. Why? Because you need to meet a deadline. It wasn't even a 30-second interaction. If that is quote unquote wasting your time because you need to get your question in there and meet your deadline, you should not be a writer anyway. Listen, I've been a writer before. Now, granted, it was not with a big publication per se, but I've had to deal with meeting deadlines before, and I understand how that works. I mean, if you don't want anyone else, if you're really in that big of a rush to meet your deadline, you should ask your question before anyone else then. Be that guy. Ask the tough questions, which, by the way, a lot of these people in the media ask some of the worst questions ever. Brooke Pryor, who used to be in Kansas City, who was heavily criticized for her comments about Tyreek Hill, he was very critical of Lynn Jones-Turpin, saying that this is unethical. Or sure, I get how this is viewed as unethical from a journalistic standpoint. But Brooke Pryor is also the same journalist who was asking Aaron Rodgers whether or not he was wearing a wedding ring on his ring finger. You have no right to criticize Lynn if you at one point ask Aaron Rodgers what is the ring on his finger for. And in her tweet, following it up with, someone's got to ask the tough questions. And then you turn around and criticize Lynn Jones-Turpin. Listen, we have enough negativity in this world. So in a world where we have all of this negativity, why not be Lynn Jones-Turpin? We need more Lynn Jones-Turpins in this world. Like, people are acting like she said something awful. You know how many times I listen to an Andy Reid or any Chiefs press conference and I hear some of the dumbest questions get asked? I remember when DeAndre Hopkins was traded to the Chiefs last year after a few weeks. I won't say the name, but there was a veteran reporter, a long-time reporter, who asked DeAndre Hopkins, "Are you enjoying your time in Kansas City?" What is he going to say? No? Yeah, I came from a 2-win Tennessee team to an undefeated team. I hate my time here. What is he going to say? Listen, here's my thing. I remember at the very beginning when I was in college and even in high school when I had the opportunity to interview athletes, college and pro athletes. I asked a lot of dumb questions early in my career. Now, on this podcast, I've had the honor and pleasure of interviewing a lot of former Chiefs and even some current Chiefs. I will never ask a question that I know the answer to. Like asking a player, a future Hall of Fame wide receiver who is playing on an undefeated team, "Are you enjoying your time in Kansas City?" Like, what the hell is he got? Where were you expecting? And for those who want to say, "Oh, well, he's doing it to set up a follow-up question," just whatever that follow-up question is, just ask that. You already know he's who would not be enjoying playing for the best team in the league? Like, how do some people think the question they ask is going to be a good question? And I understand, like, if you're in a Bill Belichick press conference, you probably feel intimidated because every question, Belichick makes them feel like bad questions, unless you ask about long snapping, of all things. But this whole thing, at the end of the day, it's like, she didn't say anything awful. So for all you people who ask terrible questions, take a back seat and get off your high horse with your ethical journalism here. She didn't do anything wrong. Is she a fan of the team? I have no idea. Maybe she is. So what? She got her piece in there. I think here's the problem with society today, whether it's sports, news, even in the political world. Like, people make such a big deal out of absolutely nothing. Oh, this person did this. It's like, okay, let's talk about this terrible thing that happened. Did anyone die? Did buildings burn down? Did someone say something excruciatingly controversial? No. So why are we making a big fuss out of nothing bad? People need to chill out. The Texans' right tackle false starting on every play. Did Jawan Taylor get traded? That's my takeaway from that right there. That's good to know. Got called this time 77. Yeah, okay. All right. A lot of you guys start talking about that. I don't know, man. Like, to me, look, I know in our political world over the last 10 years, a lot has been brought to light. I get that. And I know in 2020, with health and with social injustice, a lot was made of that year as well. And I think, listen, I think we can all reflect and learn on things that are in the news, whether it's sports or non-sports. But sometimes I see things on cable news. They're like, oh my God, this happened. Okay. Like, who's impacted by this? Like, who's hurt physically? I'm not talking whose feelings are hurt. Who at the end of the day is like in a very bad situation because of this event that is harmless. Think about that next time. All right, with that said, I'm going to get out of here. I'm Farzin Vasugian. I appreciate you all joining me on this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. If you enjoyed any part of this podcast, please share it. Let your friends know. If you missed any part of our live stream, it'll be archived shortly. Thank you all for joining me. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm commenting with the link right now, youtube.com/@thechiefszone. I appreciate everyone who watched live on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram. Appreciate all of you guys who joined me on tonight's episode. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk more Chiefs. We'll talk more NFL as the divisional round matchups will officially be set. Hopefully we go 6 of 6 with our wild card picks. We'll see. I'm Farzin Vasugian. Appreciate you guys joining me. Take care. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Talk to you all later.